Welcome back, ILW Pod fans, to another fantasy booking. And today I will be booking Chris Jericho's return to the WWE 2025 through 2026. And we are going to get started November 3rd, the Monday Night Raw after Saturday night's main event. And it will be CM Punk in the ring, promo against Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker wants his fight at the World Championship, especially since he was taken out of that Battle Royal, to get that chance to fight for the title. And the lights go out. The lights start flashing, and next thing you know, Dark State is in the ring, and they're relentlessly beating up CM Punk and Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, even Paul Heyman. And members from the Raw roster come out, try to help. Jey Uso, Penta, them come out to try to stop what is going on. And then Obafemi, Ricky Stanks, Javon Evans, they come out there, they start attacking. And they leave all them bodies everywhere. It cuts to backstage, NXT and Raw rosters are battling. There's people left under piles of cargo and stuff. Next night on NXT, Ricky Saints is in the ring and he's talking about how we as NXT haven't had another chance at Spotlight since 2019, which was 6 years ago. And they want to be known as not as this developmental brand. They want to establish themselves even further as the best brand. Says that the main roster has been lackluster. And the night on SmackDown, on that Friday night that week, Cody Rhodes is in the ring, and he's talking about how he's seen what happened on Raw. And he thinks that they need to calm down, know their place. And the lights go out again. Dark State comes out, attacks Cody. Fraxium come out to come and help Cody Rhodes, but right before they go to fight Dark State, double super kick to Cody, and they leave Cody in a pool of blood. The next few weeks, it's warfare, chaos between both Raw and SmackDown fighting NXT fighting Raw and SmackDown, and Shawn Michaels and Triple H face off. And they tell each other to bring the best of both sides. So it is set for War Games. NXT versus Raw and SmackDown in War Games. And it is set. The teams are set. The main roster will have CM Punk, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, Cody Rhodes, Chris Jericho. But the Chris Jericho part will not be announced until we get to War Games. He is a mystery person. And the NXT side is Obafemi, Javon Evans, Ricky Saints, and Fraxium, which contains Nathan Frazier and Axiom. And it is set. We get to the night of War Games, the last entrant for the main roster's team. Break the walls down, and he shows up light up jacket and everything, and he goes out there and they have a phenomenal match. But through the match, we have Chris Jericho and CM Punk. They stare at each other and they have this little heated moment where one gets pushed into the other, and they almost fight until Obafemi comes and knocks them both down. So it kind of hints for something for the future. But at the end of the day, on the top of the cage, moonsault from Chris Jericho through Ricky Saints that was laying on a table. They pick him up, code breaker, 1, 2, 3. It's the next night, or it's the next week on SmackDown. Chris Jericho shows up, and the fans welcome him back. He says that he's happy to be back in the place that was rightfully his at first, his home. And he says that he's ready to see what this run has in store for him. The next week, he has a match against Aleister Black, and it's a phenomenal match, okay? It shows a match that we've never seen before. We get Chris Jericho, Aleister Black. Aleister Black misses the Black Mass, caught with a code breaker, 1, 2, 3 to win. The next week, The Miz versus Chris Jericho. They go out there, they have another match. Miz misses a skull-crushing finale, gets reversed into a code breaker, 1, 2, 3. But after the match, the lights go out, and they come back on. Aleister Black is standing behind Chris Jericho, Black Mass. And he says, I want you next week. They go, and they have another banger of a match the next week. Of course, it's Aleister Black and Chris Jericho. Why wouldn't they have a banger? And Aleister Black picks up the win this time after reversing the walls of Jericho, getting out of the walls of Jericho. He hits a clean Black Mass, lifts him up again for another one, connects with it, 1, 2, 3. And the next week, they have a promo, and at the end of it, Aleister Black says he wants Chris Jericho in a 2 out of 3 falls match at Saturday night's main event. It'll be the same Saturday night's main event of John Cena's last match. They will go to Saturday night's main event, and how this match will play out is the first fall will come by Aleister Black catching Chris Jericho out of the air from a springboard moonsault with a Black Mass to pick up the first fall. The next fall will come from Chris Jericho catching Aleister Black with a code breaker after he tries to hit with a bicycle knee. And the next fall will be after a superplex, and then it leads into the walls of Jericho, and it makes Aleister Black tap out. Chris Jericho gets the W. Next week, we get Chris Jericho versus Carmelo Hayes in just a one-off match. And Chris Jericho picks up the win from another code breaker. And at the end of this match, the MFTs come out, and they decimate Chris Jericho. The next week, Jericho's mad about what happened. He calls out MFT, and Solo and Tonga Loa come out, and Solo says, you know what? You want me, you're going to have to go through them first. So it is set up for that same night, Tonga Loa versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho picks up the win. The next week on Raw, he comes out there and he says, all right, who's next? Who else do I have to take down before I can get to you? And it is set up for Tama Tonga versus Chris Jericho. And the ref gets distracted by the MFTs, which leads Tama to try to win the match, but instead gets rolled up, and Chris Jericho picks up another win on the MFTs. The next week, Chris Jericho has a massive match versus Santos Escobar, and Santos Escobar picks up the win by not by disqualification, but interference from the NFTs. They show up at the top of the entrance ramp. Chris Jericho goes out there, and he gets counted out. He gets counted out by leaving the ring and going all the way up to the ramp, and he can't make the count. The next week, he's furious with the MFTs, making him lose, and he says, after I go in this Rumble, which is on that Saturday, after I win the Rumble and after I go to Mania to do my thing and win another world championship, I will be seeing you, Solo Sikoa, next. It comes to the Rumble. He's entrant 28. He makes it to the Final Four, which is him, Solo Sikoa, Sami Zayn, and Braun Breaker. Sami Zayn eliminates Braun Breaker by clotheslining him over the top rope. Then Solo Sikoa actually has Tala Tonga, Talaloa come out there, and they've already been eliminated earlier in the match. They have them take out Chris Jericho out of the ring and eliminate him by himself. And next thing you know, it's Sami Zayn, Solo Sikoa, last two. Sami Zayn overcomes the odds and eliminates Solo after he was too distracted watching Chris Jericho get eliminated. Haluva kick thrown over the top rope. The next week, he calls out Solo. He's like, now you've ruined my chances of becoming that world championship that I so hardly desire, and I need it. But they don't come out. The next week, there's an Elimination Chamber qualifier set up. It is Chris Jericho versus Drew McIntyre to get into the match. Chris Jericho does pick up the win after using the MFTs that came out to disrupt the match. He used them to his advantage to distract the ref to hit Drew McIntyre with a pair of brass knuckles. Throws him out the ring. Code breaker 1, 2, 3. Next week, Chris Jericho versus Ron Killings. And they go out there, they have a great match, but Ron Killings picks up the win off after a roll-up victory because of the MFTs interrupting his match. After interrupting Chris Jericho's match. Next week, Tala versus Jericho, versus Chris Jericho. And Chris Jericho picks up the win. After the turnbuckle being exposed, he threw Tala into the turnbuckle and rolled him up 1, 2, 3. The next night, it is the Elimination Chamber. Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes, Rey Fenix, Aleister Black, and Solo Sikoa, and also Bronson Reed, all in there for the WWE Undisputed Championship. And after Solo is eliminated by Chris Jericho, the rest of the MFTs come in there and they destroy Chris Jericho, leaving Cody Rhodes to take him out of the match. And next up, after that, it is the next night, JC Mateo versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho picks up the win, and after him winning against JC Mateo, he says, you know what, Solo? I'm sick of this. And he wants him at WrestleMania. He wants to take down the MFTs for good. The next week, it is Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa versus Chris Jericho in a handicap match, which the MFTs do pick up the win because of the advantage by having two people versus one. And the next week, we get Solo Sikoa versus Ilya Dragunov for the U.S. Championship in one of Ilya Dragunov's U.S. Open challenges. And Solo picks up the win by having the MFTs attack and beat down Ilya before the match, which makes Solo the new United States champion. And the next night on SmackDown, on the next week on SmackDown, Chris Jericho comes out there and he beats up Solo Sikoa from the behind with a steel chair. And he says, now I want you and your championship. I want to become U.S. champion since I couldn't become a world champion. It is set up for Mania. Solo Sikoa and Chris Jericho at WrestleMania for the U.S. Championship. And also, Chris Jericho is inducted into the 2026 Hall of Fame. And it's a beautiful thing. Chris Jericho's never been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I'm guessing he will be, especially in his Hall of Fame speech. He will talk about how he was the first ever undisputed champion, WWE undisputed champion, and it's a beautiful thing. And I think even if he does not come back in real life, that he still should be inducted into the Hall of Fame. But now it's WrestleMania weekend, night one of WrestleMania, opener to the show, Chris Jericho versus Solo Sikoa, MFT banned from ringside. They go out there, they have a banger of a match. Chris Jericho, though, does pick up the win after hitting Solo with a Codebreaker Walls of Jericho combo to win the U.S. Championship. The next week on SmackDown, that Friday night, he goes out there and he celebrates his champ. But he gets attacked. He gets attacked by some dude in a mask, and he gets Papa Powerbombed. And he's Papa Powerbombed through the announce table. He's left laying out. The next week, he has a match versus Johnny Gargano for the U.S. Championship, which he does win, but the attacker comes to do the same thing. He gets Codebreaker, but he rolls out the ring and runs away. Next week, we have Jacob Fatu versus Chris Jericho for the U.S. Championship. Same thing, but this time, he hits he hits the attacker with a Codebreaker. He takes off the mask. It is Kevin Owens. And the next week, Kevin Owens comes out there, he says, "I'm back, and I've been injured for so long, and now that one of my old bitter rivals that I used to have problems with back in the day is finally back. And he has something of need for me, which is the U.S. Championship, which, if I want to build myself back up to the top, I got to start at the bottom. And why not kick this old man's ass?" And it is set for WrestleMania Backlash, Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens for the U.S. Championship. And we will have Chris Jericho pick up the win over Kevin Owens in a phenomenal match nonetheless. The next night, Kevin Owens out there and he wants his rematch. And he even takes it to where Chris Jericho's in the backstage getting interviewed about Backlash, and he gets attacked from the behind by Kevin Owens. He even gets sent through a car windshield. And the next week, he's out there. Chris Jericho's out there having a non-title match against Rey Fenix, and Kevin Owens costs him the match. Comes out there, interrupts, distracts the ref, lets Rey Fenix roll him up for the 1-2-3. And then Kevin Owens has a gauntlet match. He's put into a gauntlet match for the U.S. title, and he wins the whole thing from number one. And now he has a match at Money in the Bank versus Chris Jericho for the U.S. Championship, which Kevin Owens does pick up the win by hitting him with 2 stunners back-to-back, 1, 2, 3. The next week, Chris Jericho's bummed. He lost his U.S. Championship, but he's set for Worlds Collide. He says, "I want to take that title off of Dominic Mysterio." He wants to add another title to his resume, the AAA Mega Championship. And it is set up there's a tournament set up to have somebody face have somebody face Dominic Mysterio at Worlds Collide. The first round will be Chris Jericho versus El Grande Americano, which will be a phenomenal match. El Grande Americano almost has the win, goes to use the metal in his mask, misses and hits the turnbuckles, so it hurts himself. Codebreaker 1, 2, 3. Next week, it is Chris Jericho versus Mr. Iguana to advance in the tournament. Chris Jericho squashes Mr. Iguana nonetheless. Mr. Iguana runs at him, gets caught with a codebreaker, walls of Jericho, he taps out. And then the next week, he has the semifinals to advance to the finals against Dominic Mysterio. It will either be Chris Jericho or AJ Styles. Him and AJ go out there. They have a banger of a match, just like they did at WrestleMania 32. And they go out there, and it seems like AJ Styles has it in the bag. He hits a phenomenal forearm, calf crusher. But just like at Mania 33, Chris Jericho gets his finger on the rope to break up the submission, and AJ's arguing with the ref. It gives time for Chris Jericho to hit a codebreaker, walls of Jericho, to tap out AJ Styles. Now it is set. Worlds collide. Chris Jericho, Dominic Mysterio, and they go out there and they have a banger of a match, but it will come to the hands of Dominic Mysterio to win the match by using the ring bell hammer, clocks Chris Jericho over the head, throws him into the ring, 619, frog splash, 1, 2, 3 to pick up the win. The next night, Chris Jericho says he's lost, he doesn't know what to do, but I want to make this run mean something. So he calls out CM Punk to get a shot at that world championship. And he goes out there, and CM Punk comes out and he's like, you don't deserve this, you haven't done anything to earn it. And Chris Jericho says, well, if I can remember, you were the one getting drunk. You were the one claiming to be the best in the world. And I was the one kicking your ass back at WrestleMania 28. And I want my world championship. I want to add another reign to my resume. And he's even like, are you a Hall of Famer? Have you ever been an undisputed champion? And it gets heated. They have a pull-apart brawl. Next week, Punk is angry, especially after what happened last week where Chris Jericho put him on his butt. All right, set him down. Basically called him a good boy. And CM Punk attacks Chris Jericho in this Fury chair shot. He puts him through the announce table. It is set up for Saturday night's main event. It will be Chris Jericho versus CM Punk for the World Championship. And in a surprise, we will see Chris Jericho, CM Punk. They are on the top rope. And it looks like CM Punk goes for a Pepsi plunge, but he gets reversed last second. Codebreaker off the top rope. 1, 2, 3. Confetti comes down. Chris Jericho just became your new world champion. And the next week, Punk wants his rematch. He's his rematch clause because he thinks that Chris Jericho got lucky. It is set up for the next week on Raw. CM Punk versus Chris Jericho. And they go out there, and it ends in a DQ after Chris Jericho didn't want to lose his title, so he picked up the title and hit Punk with the championship after they have a long fought battle, but he hits him with the championship in front of the ref to call for a DQ, and he stomps him out. And throughout the next few weeks, they have pull-apart brawls. They have promos. And CM Punk says, you know what? We're both old. We have both had our times. But I'm going to put you to the test. Can you really break the walls down? Can you be the Chris Jericho you say you are? Can you be the world champion you claim to be? At SummerSlam, I want you inside of Hell in a Cell, career versus career. And Chris Jericho and CM Punk have a contract signing on the Friday Night SmackDown before SummerSlam. And it is stated that if CM Punk wins, Chris Jericho's career will be over and he will be crowned the new world champion, and vice versa for Chris Jericho. It is SummerSlam night. Night 2 of SummerSlam. Hell in a Cell for the world champion. Career versus career. Both have legendary careers. And they go out there and they have a banger. We have a spot from they're both hanging on the side of the cell. Chris Jericho Hurricane Rana, and he grabs onto the cell, but it flings Punk off through the announce table. It's bloody. It's a war, just like Drew and Punk at Bad Blood 2024. And it comes to the final moments. Chris Jericho goes for a code breaker, but he gets caught, and before he can go fully down with it, Chris Jericho falls onto the rope, falls back onto CM Punk. Another GTS 1, 2, 3. And that is how I would book the Chris Jericho return from 2025 to 2026. Thank you guys for watching, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. Peace.